welcome back to my kitchen. So today I'll be doing a recipe called a savory shortbread cookie with olives and rosemary. The person who developed this recipe, her name is Yewande Komolafe. I'm totally butchering that, but she is quite an interesting person. She has written a bunch of publications for like food magazines. She's also styled food, and so does like a creative like dinner series from her home out in Brooklyn. So I'm gonna have links to all that down below. The first time I've heard of Yewande, she was in this Bon Appetit article with Priya, another food editor I follow. So it's like one of my favorite articles that I've read from Bon Appetit. So the conversation between Yewande and Priya basically just highlights the struggles they go through as food editors, and the conversation just evolves into like culture, like how American recipes are handed down versus like, for example, the thing I share with Yewande and Priya is that trying to get a recipe from our parents was not the easiest, just because they weren't just like, oh here's my recipe card, or here's my recipe that I wrote down X amount of years ago that I've gotten from like my mom's mom. So yeah, I linked that article down below. Check it out if you have the time. Another thing that I'm curious about this recipe is that it calls for Clamato olives, and these aren't the cheapest. Like, I'm in San Francisco and I went to Whole Foods, so there probably are cheaper options, but this tiny little can or jar, it's like half a pound, was like $7 versus this, which is about the same amount of olive, or maybe a little less, was only like $1 something. So I really want to see if I could get away with using this as a substitute, because if you're anything like me, you're always looking for like a good deal. Alright, so let's get started. Alrighty, so the ingredients you'll need for the savory shortbread cookies with olives and rosemary will be 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of chopped fresh rosemary, 1 lemon, half a cup of unsalted butter cut into cubes, half a cup of pitted Clamato olives, and last is some heavy cream. Okay, so I'll basically just do what Yewande was doing in her video, which only like slightly differs from the recipe. The video is just more detailed. For example, in the recipe it just says to mix blah 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 together. In her video she said to chop the rosemary first, so I'm gonna begin with that. So we just need 2 teaspoons of rosemary. I hate plucking herbs. Even with like those herb like thingies, you like run it through it and like it's supposed to, oh, I guess it kind of works. So next I'm gonna take a bowl and weigh out the flour. This recipe calls for 260 grams of all-purpose flour, 145 grams of sugar, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, and then 2 teaspoons of rosemary, and then a zest of 1 lemon. The way she likes to zest her lemon is to have it underneath and do this. She said it's easier to see the pit. I think that's like the white part that's underneath the skin, but this motion is too lazy, so I prefer just doing it like this. I do like every 2 or 3 scrapes and then I look up, just because if you do too much, you start getting the white part, and the white part is what makes it bitter. So you don't really want that. And then for the olives, she wants you to like cut them, but to like still have to keep its shape. So don't just like hammer at it. Cut it gently, which I'm not doing a very good job at. And then also keep in mind that you'll be cutting the cookie dough too, so you don't want to cut these pieces too small. Okay, so what I have to do next is basically just mix that bowl by hand and then pour in some cream, but I don't want to use a dirty hand to touch the bottle to pour in the cream and just like, you know, try to stay clean. So I'm gonna pour out 6 tablespoons into this small little measuring cup, just because I just hate being messy and want to stay clean. So I just took this out of the refrigerator. So I'm just gonna cube this up and have it off to the side until I'm ready for it. I guess this is the first video where I don't awkwardly drop butter into the bowl. So when it comes to cubing, I just like to do 1 big cut down the middle, flip it on its side, do another big cut, and then portion it out into like smaller cubes. Okay, so I totally messed up. I put in the olives way too early. Before I put in the olives, I was supposed to put in the butter. So let's see if I could save this somehow. I'm just like lifting it up and just spreading it over. As soon as the butter's coated in flour, I will pinch it so it like divides like that and gets smushed. And then I'm just gonna try to do that over and over again until the dough starts looking like little pebbles, or like, I guess some would call it like a shaggy dough, while also just being careful that I don't accidentally pick up an olive and try to squish it between my fingers. So I guess that's like the main reason why you add the olives after, so you don't accidentally pick it up and squeeze it between your fingers. As the butter gets smaller and smaller, it's hard to differentiate it between the olives. But of course, you'll be a lot better than me and follow the recipe and be sure to read through it. I guess I'm just in a rush because I'm trying to make it to a friend's Christmas party in an hour. At least I didn't add the cream yet, and the cream has a lot of liquid in it, and when you start adding liquid to flour, it starts creating gluten. And she said in this recipe, you're really not encouraging gluten development. So I guess as for mess ups, I could have done a lot worse. Okay, I think I got the butter down to like little pebbles. So now I'm gonna incorporate the heavy cream. I'm just gonna double check what the recipe says. Yeah, so after, I'm gonna stream this in and then mix it together. And I'm gonna wrap it in, I'm gonna wrap it in plastic wrap. She wraps it in parchment paper. I feel like if I use the parchment paper, I'm just gonna rip it and it's gonna be like not a good time. So I'm adding the heavy cream a little at a time, just so I could mix it in pretty well. She says after you mix it all, the dough will still look very dry, and that time it takes to rest will just bring it together. I'm just gonna do it twice just because I'm scared it might rip. I'm gonna just try to use one hand so the other hand is in the recipe, she says to split this dough in half and roll it up separately, but I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator. I'll probably just go to my friend's party and cook this when I come back. I'll also make the second dough with the regular black olives, just so I could taste test the difference between the Clamato olives and the regular black olives. So yeah. Alrighty, so I just got back from my friend's holiday party, so what better time to bake cookies than midnight? So, if you've seen my last video, then you know tiny ovens are the way to go. The recipe says to set it at 350 and then have it bake for like 22 minutes. Bake the cookies until they are golden at the bottom. So the dough's been chilling in the refrigerator for about 5 hours now. All I'm gonna do is just take it out, chop it up, yeah, bake them. I'm just gonna place the cookies close to each other because these shouldn't spread a lot. And if they start to come apart, you could just push them together. I should probably make sure that there's no plastic. It smells pretty olivey. So let's see how these turn out. This dough is very crumbly, so it's falling apart. I'm gonna try to fit it all in one tray. Oh my god, the cookie dough is really good. Like holy shit. Yeah, there's no eggs in here, so it's totally fine to eat. But if it's this good, like not cooked, like holy shit, I'm so excited. I think I can't stop eating it. Oh. 22-minute timer. So I don't want to waste any of this, so I'm just gonna bake this off. So it's kind of like a crumble, because this is really good. Okay, so it's basically the next day because I did not have enough energy to film this part after baking these at midnight. So let's see if the original recipe, which calls for Clamato olives, differs from using regular black olives. These are good. Like, I know olive's weird, but I think the sugar, the rosemary, and the lemon combined with like the olive makes this, it's not even safe, it still tastes sweet to me. This is really good, but I'm not too surprised since I was like eating the cookie dough non-stop. And then let's try the one with regular black olives. This one's still good, but then like you don't really taste any of the black olives, so I guess this isn't really much of a shocker. If you didn't tell anyone that there were olives in here, oh wait, it was like an aftertaste of olive. But if you didn't tell anyone that there were olives in here, or in the regular black olive one, and they were just eating it, you probably wouldn't even like tell. They'd probably be like, oh, why don't I taste the chocolate chips in here? But yeah, it's totally worth spending the extra $4 to do the Clamato olives. It just has this like nice, like some kind of extra taste in there. It's quite the experience, like combined with the rosemary and the lemon. I'm just lost for words because this is so good. I was pretty quiet during the dough making portion of it. I think I was just like really focused because I was so stressed on time, like trying to make it to my friend's holiday party in time. I'll let everyone know that even though this recipe doesn't have like a lot of ingredients, there's not a lot of steps, I could see where if someone hasn't made a lot of shortbread cookies or if someone hasn't like worked with dry doughs a lot, they would kind of like freak out just because it's like really crumbly. I know when I first started like doing doughs like this and it was like really crumbly, I had to fight every single urge to like add liquid or add water or add like more of whatever the liquid was to the dough to make it look like it was more put together. If it's crumbly, just try to smush it back together. Just keep calm, stay chill, it'll all work out. Even though it's like cracked and whatever, if you like smush it together before you put it into the oven, the butter kind of melts and it kind of like congeals together like this. So this one was probably like I had to smush together when I was baking it, and it still looks fine. I'd still eat it. It still tastes good. It's a bigger cookie. Don't let the crumbly dough like scare you. So other than that, this was Yewande Komolafe. This was the first recipe I've ever tried of hers. I'm a really big fan, so I'm gonna try to do more of her recipes. So yeah, look forward to that in the future. If you like the content you saw, there's more to come. I know I'm doing a lot of cookies because it's cookie season. I definitely want to do more like technical or like really challenging recipes just so you guys could see like that process is coming from someone that's not like a professional anything. But yeah, if you like my content, please hit subscribe, like, comment on things that you want to see done, or like if there's a recipe that you want to see that you have like there's like no good like resource online, be gladly to tackle that too. So yeah, still with the awkward outros.